Hello everyone. So this is a very rare find, an endangered species, a spotted turtle. Unfortunately, being rare, it was very unlucky. I mean, lucky for me to help it, but unlucky for him. He got caught by a dog and got chewed on. So the finder found their dog chewing on this poor turtle in their backyard. And lucky enough, they just caught it in time because he could have been unfortunate euthanasia if it went any deeper because it wouldn't puncture the vertebrae or his internal organs. You don't have to worry about the saliva of cats compared to biting on animals because of the infections and bacteria. But also, dogs carry a lot of bacteria, so you still want to be careful. So what we're doing right now, I'm doing a physical exam. So the top of the carapace is pretty banged up. I think it's where the most of the damage is. Thank goodness for their hard shell, but the vertebrae isn't broken. I don't see any punctures going through. The dog's teeth were just gnawing at it, but unfortunately they were gnawed right on the edges. This is bone marrow, but it's not black. There's no pus. There's no green, no maggots. That's good. That's the best part. It's still healthy tissue, so we can disinfect that and clean it up. So I'm just gonna take some diluted betadine and start cleaning up right now. I don't see any punctures around the legs. He's been active and moving around, which is good. So eastern spotted turtles are one of the smallest species of freshwater turtles you can find in North America. Not as small as like a stink pot, which are still cool. These spots is how they get their name because all the spots are really unique. It's like a fingerprint. Even if they shed off the scutes, you still see those same spots. So they're really pretty when they're in the water. So you find them in really shallow water. Usually they're eating a lot of mosquito larvae or freshwater shrimp, small fish, and aquatic plants. So now I gotta make food for it later on. The hardest part about it, it's good I don't see punctures because I couldn't keep it in water. And since these guys eat in the water, it's very difficult though to do feedings. You have to do like syringe feedings maybe once or twice a day just to keep up its fluids and its diet. So I'll let it soak in this betadine. Try to clean up any debris on the shell or inside the shell. The finder did keep it clean in an area, didn't try to feed it, which is good. From the size and the tail, it is a male, and it's also concaved, which is cool. You don't really see that in a lot of freshwater turtle species. It's concave, so that's a sign that's a male. So what to do, the male will use that concavity on the bottom of the plastrum, and they'll mount the female to mate. I was a little bit worried if this was a female because these turtles are so rare, and I'll have to go to the person's house and try to find the nest and mark it because these are a protected species. So why they're endangered is because they lost so much habitat and they're such a small turtle. And turtles don't adapt too well to massive environmental changes, especially it has to do with their ecosystem. So if there's habitat destruction, the biggest one, car collisions, invasive predators, invasive turtles out competing them, it just piles up and they just start dying off. And if you kill all the adults, you lose decades of potential offspring for the next generation. So these animals can live over 20 years. I have no idea how old this turtle is, but he looks youthful for his size. So hopefully he's young. I'm just trying to get in between the legs. And also, I don't really see a lot of debris. That's good. There's a little bit of sand and dirt in between the legs. I'm just trying to clean that out. I want to clean the wounds as best as possible. And then I'll do an antibiotic cream and heal it. I don't want to bandage the wounds because it can trap potential bacteria. Ooh, let's see this for a second. It's a little bit of a break here, but I'm not going to touch it. It's a little bit of a fracture right here. Not deep, but it's holding, so I don't want to touch it. I'm going to let this bone heal. This can take months. Just to grow new scutes, which is beta carotene. It's just the same protein like in your fingernails. And this is all bone and calcium. So what I'm gonna do for diet, make sure that he gets a lot of calcium and multivitamins in his diet, and that's gonna speed the repair and regeneration of his tissue, which is gonna be great. Thank goodness there's no maggots. This is the worst injury right here. So this almost went internal. There's a small break, but I don't want to touch it. Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. So this membrane right here, that's pretty much going inside the chest cavity. So the lungs are attached to the side, top of the shell, along the vertebrae, and then the organs are kind of kept in like a membrane. It's almost like it's almost like a submarine. So there's like internal structures, and to help with the buoyancy, there's like a gas pocket. So they can control that by breathing and sucking in air in the lungs and control the buoyancy. But also you don't want to make sure that's punctured, because then it will have issues controlling that buoyancy. And then you can really lead to a lot of nasty infections. There's new material now that if that did happen, potentially I can work with the vet that's local, that helps me out with a lot of my rescues. And maybe you can do a synthetic membrane to hold that repair. But it doesn't look punctured. It's healthy. It's not dark. I don't see any pus coming out. No maggots. Probably is a little bit dehydrated. His eyes are a little bit sunken in, but it's not too bad. The bentonite, he can soak in that. So I'm going to give him a break in a second. Just want to do one more exam. Just looking in the inside. Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. Yeah, so it's definitely a fractures all around. That's a fracture right there. Don't want to touch that because that looks like it's, yeah. I'll keep an eye on that. Okay. So let's give him a break for a second. Let him calm down. And then we'll move on to the next step. So right now, I had to try to find a bowl because he's so tiny. I mean, he fit in the palm of my hand. I'm letting him soak right now and drink. This is just chlorinated water. I just want him, since he's been dehydrated, just to drink some fluids and then flush out any bile or feces he might have been holding up on. I didn't see that in the box when I got him, but I just wanted him to soak for a bit. I'm not worried about punctures, but there was a weird thing. His pelvic bone, which is also fused to the top, popped out under the bone because how do I describe it? It's very weird. The pelvic bone and vertebrae are fused to the top of that shell, top of the carapace, but you can still see it. It's not fully fused in. You can still feel the vertebrae if you ever find like a turtle shell and look in the inside. But how this dog chewed on it, popped part of that the bone out, and then the vertebrae or pelvic bone kind of popped out of it. It's not bleeding, but it is sharp. So I felt it and I was like, that looks like it's part of the pelvic. It's exposed. I mean, it's not causing him any pain. He can still move his legs, but I still have to keep an eye on that and make sure there's no bone infection. But it's clean, and I don't see marrow. So if it had marrow, that can lead right into the bloodstream and kill it. So I wanted just a piece of that bone that's evolved inside their shell, and it just kind of popped out. And it's weird. He's not filling up with fluid. I didn't see bubbles popping out of that bottom, because that would be a problem. That means there's water leaking inside of his body. I didn't see that, so that's good. So it's connected to the bone, but it's just a weird thing from evolution that I just saw kind of exposed. I never felt one before on the outside. So I just have to keep an eye on that, make sure it doesn't get loose or start to cause any pain or start to get infected, because then he'll have to get like antibiotic injections. Hopefully with antibiotic cream, that'll kind of help with that tissue and bone repairing. And then with his diet, doing high calcium, again, make sure he got the protein in, and a varied diet. I'll have to like produce my own mosquito larvae outside, do a DIY project. I'll just have to keep an eye on that. So see some of that debris that's falling off of him. So give him a soak. He's moving around and getting off that dead tissue and debris that was under his skin. And since he's moving around, I'm just going to give him a little bit of bentonite. Where is it? Hold on a second, guys. I'm going to give him a little bit of bentonite. Just a couple of drops. Since he's moving around, it's okay if he drinks a little bit. It's not fully concentrated. And it just, bentonite just helps kill off any infections. Maybe I'll add a little bit more. Here we go. So the soaking of the bentonite is good just to help out with everything. All right. Want it just not too dark. Like a tea color. There we go, buddy. I know. And I'm probably gonna have to do this at least once a day. Just from the scrapes, it's good that it's not broken. That's what most of my accidents are. Like huge fractures along the shell. It's not horrible, but it's not great either. It's just going to take months of healing and time. He's so cute. It's such a shame that these animals are being lost out of our habitat. And they're so great. They help with such being a keystone species, eating all the mosquito larvae and small insects. It just reduces things with like plagues and epidemics of like spreading disease from like malaria and West Nile into other animals and people. So they're very important, just reducing pests, naturally reducing pests. There we go, that's the color I kind of want. Nope. It's hard to tell if the color of the bowl is throwing it off. But I guess I add a little bit more bentonite. There we go, okay. More of that tea color I was looking for. So I'll let them soak in that for a little bit, and then we'll get back into doing just a freshwater dip, and then another cleaning, and then cream. All right, got them cleaned off with fresh water, dried them off. Now I gotta, boop, stick them on there. So this is a little trick I've seen turtle rehabbers do. They'll take a little bit of like packing tape because it doesn't stick and hurt their skin. And you stick it on like a bottle can or container, and you just stick them right there, and it's easy to do exams and operations or anything you have to do. And the turtle can't kick his legs, so sometimes when I hold on, I always stick my finger right on the middle of their shell, and they always struggle trying to get away because they can't reach under them like a lizard, or I mean, obviously a snake can just wiggle around. But so I just want to do a couple. Make sure there's nothing. Just dry it off a little bit more. There is loose bone. That might fall off. Let's see. I don't want to touch it because it's attached to the tissue. I'll show you what I'm talking about. This chip of bone right here. I don't want to remove it. Oh, let's see. It might actually, it just probably holding by a layer of skin. Oh, buddy, let's see. I might let it fall off and die on its own. It's, yeah. Can't repair because it's just a chip of bone. But I'm trying to see if it'll just, because I don't want to tear the membrane. Yeah, it's attached. So this piece of bone probably will die off because it's not connected to the marrow, so it's not healthy blood and vitamins circulating through that piece of bone right here. It's gonna just be necrosis and then just fall off. So I'll keep an eye on it. There's some tissue hanging on the side of it, but I don't want to do any more damage. Some of the bone will die off, and it will just repair and grow new bone, just like what happens to our bodies if we have traumatic injury, our cells and DNA will be triggered to give new cells commands to repair tissue. It can be tissue, bone, produce new blood cells, white blood cells, and it's going to attack certain areas if there's an infection and fight off that infection. And the tissue is going to repair itself. But turtles repair so cool. It's not like us, how we repair. It's almost like going from the inside out, how they repair bone. And then if it was a bigger piece, like if this piece is gone right here, probably the dog ate it, unfortunately, it'll grow new bone. So this bone may never really come back. If it was right here, you kind of see that repair. Oh, now he's trying to kick away. But this shell around the edges, it's just going to look really serrated. But hopefully this tissue right here, right next to the pelvic, repairs itself and grows new bone right over it. But this piece is going to fall off. Yeah, it's just around the edge. So thank goodness it missed most of the the most major parts, which is getting internal organs. It didn't bite off the legs or the neck, chew on the head. So I'm kind of grateful. Sometimes dogs are really dumb. Cats are just horrible, though. Especially outdoor cats are the biggest problem with wildlife. They kill so much native wildlife every year. Is billions of animals. That's not even just exaggerating. Over 1 billion birds die every year just from feral cats. But anyway, not to go on a tangent. Cats are really good about paralyzing their prey or animals they catch. And this is the antibiotic cream I'm putting on. So cats will paralyze them, and then they have that nasty bacteria in their mouth, and that can cause more infections. Dogs can also cause crazy infections, but I don't usually see that with dogs. And the times I have gotten cases of turtles that are chewed on by dogs, usually they die right away, especially if it's a hunting breed. So this breed of dog that the finder had was a mix with a hunting breed, and they're really driven to kind of kill and catch anything that gets near them, or they go out hunting. Especially huskies, you have to keep an eye on them because they will go out of their way and go hunting on their own, naturally, instinctively, just go out there and start catching animals and bringing them home to you and eating them. So just trying to get all this cream. So this cream needs to be applied every like 12 hours, at least twice a day. And then as the bone heal, you do it like once a day. It doesn't have to be as high maintenance at the beginning of treatment. And you're probably wondering why not just do an antibiotic injection, like an oral or injection through the arm. He's so small. I mean, like he can fit in my hand. And to get a syringe small enough and him not to freak out, I can puncture through his arm and out through the bone and puncture his chest. And then the antibiotics are, especially in his case, there's a lot of trauma and stress going on with being, grabbed by a dog. Antibiotics will stress the animal's GI tract and they'll stop eating. And right now I don't want him to stop eating. I need him to eat soon and start that repair of the shell and tissue. So this antibiotic cream is great because, one, it creates a barrier that's clean and disinfected and will fight off bacteria. But also, since the bone marrow is exposed, I don't have to do injections because the antibiotic is going to slowly be absorbed into its bone marrow and get into a circulatory system. So in a way, I'm almost like microdosing or doing a dosing through absorption of the skin. So that's less stress on the animal, which is cool. But of course, with antibiotics, reptiles too, they'll slowly break it down. And that's because of their heating. If the heat is incorrect, they'll slowly absorb the medication. Or since their metabolism could be slow or too fast in some cases, depending on the drug, they can end up getting overdosed, and that's called a megadose. And a megadosing can cause neurological problems or death in reptiles, especially if they're under like anesthesia. If they're under like doing an operation, you have to be careful, because if the drug is slowly seeping through their body and it's not metabolizing like if it was a dog or a cat. Sorry, he's right here. I'm just holding him. You run into issues where they're not breaking down the drug fast enough, and then they can go into cardiac arrest or respiratory failure. It's a problem with medication reptiles. Sometimes you just have to do the slowest method possible and let them just, do the rest of healing. You just have to give them time. Most of it is just time of healing. Ooh, that's on your tail. Just giving them time to heal and give them food. I might just take my finger, because his whole shell is just scraped up. And what I'm going to do at the end of this video, I'm just going to let him soak in this medication, antibiotic cream, for a little bit, let it dry off. And I guess technically I'm just going to rub this all on your shell. Oh, I know, buddy. Because all of them is pretty much bit up. And it's okay to get in his skin, not in the eyes. You want to avoid the eyes, but pretty much I'm just going to lube up. I realized my camera overheated the last 2 minutes, but it doesn't matter. It's just me rambling. So what I'm going to do, let him absorb this medication in the skin, get him eating, make sure that he has a lot of multivitamins and calcium and protein in his diet to repair this shell, so he'll have a speedy recovery. Oh, sorry, buddy. They're so funny. Always falling around. Stay still for a second. Hopefully he will have a recovery by the end of this year and get him back on the wild. He is one of the rarest turtles. I need to make sure this one especially gets back out in his native range to help him repopulate. It'll be a really big loss for being an endangered species. Where are you going? To lose an adult like this, even a male, his genetics are going to help for the next generation. And I'm a little bit reluctant and happy that it's not a female, but that means there's females in the area where this animal is found. I'm not going to give out the location just as a precaution and safety for this rare species of turtle. I am going to get in contact with Fish and Wildlife. Maybe they'll have to do an observation in the area was found, and potentially this could be a new area for spotted turtles. I don't know if it's documented. Can't get any more information than that. But check out the Animal E.A.I. Instagram page and find, hopefully I'll post some more videos throughout the summer about different cool things about wildlife and rehabbing. Take care.